Welcome to the inaugural JB Disc Golf Productions video coverage of the 2018 Cranbury Park Ice Bowl. I'm your commentator and TD, Craig Smolin, and I'm sitting here with Chris Scofield.
How you doing, everybody? Good to be here.
So we've got Bobby Cowperthwait, Steve Brinster, Board Soleng, Craig Cutler, and Chris. And we're starting off on hole one from the long pad. It's a straight shot out of the gate, out of the gap, and you've got to pull it over to the right. It looks like we're leading off with Bobby, who's sponsored by Innova, and he's throwing a PD2. And he pulls his shot a little bit to the right, but well safe of the OB that lines the whole left side. Next, we've got Steve Brinster, also sponsored by Innova since the late 90s, throwing a destroyer. And he throws straight, a little bit of turn and glide, and lands right up near the basket. And next we've got Board Soleng rocking the Unity shirt from VTI, formerly sponsored by Discraft. He's throwing a destroyer out to the middle as well. Next we've got Craig Cutler, also Innova sponsored, with the destroyer. He turns it over a little bit, grounds into the grass. Chris, what do you got?
I'm just trying to throw a straight shot, turn it over, and stay away from the OB and get it up near the basket.
Are you throwing a destroyer like all the rest of these guys?
Yes.
We've got our
Love
upshots here. It's Craig. And Board with an AVR. And now we've got you with the putt. What do you got in your hand?
It's a MPO AVR.
And that's a nice deuce putt there.
Thank you. Got a good release on that one.
Steve with his deuce putt. And it looks like it chains just off to the left.
I was very surprised by that.
Board taps in. And Cutler with the tap in. It looks like we missed Bobby's upshot, but he's right there as well. And Steve taps in. And as we move on to hole two, here's our scores. Everybody takes a 3 except for Chris with the lone birdie. And Chris started the round 2 strokes behind Bobby, but now he's made 1 up. So we've got hole 2, which is another tunnel shot down the path and a slight turnover. What are you going with here?
I'm throwing a Star Leopard. You could throw a mid-range on this, but in the cold, and just go a nice easy shot with the Leopard.
How old's that disc?
I'd say about 3 years old.
So nice and beat in. We'll start turning over for you.
A little bit. It has a little bit of stability to it also.
Okay. Bobby with an Atlas, and he gets a pretty good move on that one. Gets some turn to the right, and it nestles actually behind that big tree, and he's got an easy putt.
It's a nice shot.
What do you think Steve's throwing here?
Steve has a rock in his hand. He's trying to do a hyzer flip to straight. You got to put it pretty high to get down there. He hits a tree off to the left.
Board with a Metal Flake Rock 3, and he gets a nice kiss back out to the middle. And now we've got Craig. It looks like Craig is throwing a Leopard 3, similar to what you were doing.
Yeah, he turns it over a little too much, knocks over to the left. He should be able to get a 3, though.
Here's our approach shots. And that's pretty close. That's what, 15 feet?
Yeah, 10 to 15.
Craig puts a good move. He's looking for it.
He's about 20 feet out.
How far are you right now?
I'm about, I would say 90.
Are you
Just
going?
trying to put it up close.
Yeah. You've got board. He sends it nice and high. Comes down just in front.
Almost puts it in there. Nice bid.
Craig with his first big putt of the round.
It was actually like about 25 to 30 actually, instead of 20.
Steve with a good downhill.
Hits the rim, just in. Nice putt.
And Bobby with the deuce putt. And
Nice
he
putt.
gets that. And finish up with your tap in. As we move on to hole 3, Bobby's regained his 2-stroke lead, but it is still very early. And Craig takes the lone bogey 4. And hole 3 really starts the gauntlet stretch of holes 3 through 7. It's pretty straight, little left to right turn, and then back to the left. And here comes Bobby. And here it comes. And he throws nice and straight. What are you going with?
I'm going to throw a 11-time champion T-Bird. Pretty straight one.
That looks pretty good. What's Steve got here?
I believe Steve has a star leopard.
He goes right down the middle.
Gets through some trees. He'll be up there for a 3.
Safe plays trying to hyzer out to the left and then pitch up if you can't get it straight down.
Board's also throwing a star leopard here. He hits pretty early and goes off to the right. That's going to be a tough up and down from there.
Craig throws the inside out, but he throws way over to the left, but it's pretty clean over there, and he should be able to get up and
Looks
down.
like he was playing pretty safe, trying to bail out.
Yeah.
Get up there for a 3. It's a tough hole. Their board tries to do a sidearm flex shot and hits another tree.
Now he's got a Nova in his hand. Nice little left to right Annie.
That was a pretty nice shot. He's about, I would say, 40, 45.
Yeah. Bobby's laying up.
Little farther than he might want to be.
This looks like it's Craig's putt for par.
Little jump putt. Just past the basket. He went a little far on that as well. That might be a tester.
Now here's Board's putt. Slices in, just a little long. Now we've got Steve's putt. He bangs that in.
Nice putt. Steve's signature straddle jump putt. I've seen it many times.
Craig's got a good little uphill putt here, but he bangs it in. I've had that putt, and it can be a little testy.
Here's me for 2.
You drop that in. Everybody tapping out. Board looking pretty happy.
Board's always happy. He's a great guy. He's always positive.
But unfortunately, he takes the double. 2 birdies is pretty impressive on that hole, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would say so. It's a pretty tough hole. It's tight. There's a lot of trees, which is pretty much the theme of Cranbury Park, and you just got to try to pure your lines.
So what are your thoughts on hole 4? do we got?
Hole 4 for me, that's the toughest hole in the course. Probably the tightest line off the tee. You really just want to try to get your 3.
You've got a first run Brinster bird. Looks like you pulled it to the right.
Yeah, I got a little lucky there, but I managed to get down there for hopefully an easy 3.
Looks like Steve's also got a Brinster T-bird.
Signature.
But unfortunately, he follows you and pulls it to the right. Hits early. Now, Bobby's taking the aggressive, fast disc, a PD2, trying to get down through the 2 gates as quick as possible. He gets it up. And he's actually going to clear the rock wall, but he's going to be way down to the right. And it looks like Craig's going back to that leopard.
He gets through the same gap I do, but hits and comes back to the middle. It's a good kick.
And now we've got board. Looks like he's throwing a fast disc as well.
I believe it's a Champion Destroyer. He gets down there.
Steve's off to the left side.
It's a tough shot right here.
But if you can get to that rock off in the distance, then you've got a putt. And it looks like that's what he's going for.
Yeah, he got through the gap, dumped out a little bit to the left. He'll have probably about a 50-footer, I would say. Jump putt.
Craig's got an approach. He's got to bend it around a couple of the big trees.
This is actually a really tough angle. He had a small, narrow gap to get through with a hyzer. Well done.
And he keeps it on the hill without it rolling out. There's Bobby's pitch up. That nestles nicely.
I'm just going to try to lay this up here, take my 3.
And that was actually your drive, was it not?
Yeah. Yeah, that was my drive.
Steve's locked in. He's trying to make this putt, save his par.
Staring it down. Oh, just off the top. Nice try. It was looking good.
You know, 4 is a tough score to take on hole 4, but you're not really losing much ground with it.
Yeah. It's the toughest hole in the course, I think.
And board just off the front of the rim.
I know he wanted that one. See it on his face.
Craig jams it in. No big numbers, but nobody got the 2. It's probably one of the hardest 2s to get on the whole course, behind hole 6 and hole 13.
I would say there's only a few on the day.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But all things aside, only 1 bogey is pretty impressive with this group.
Sometimes you got to get lucky on that hole.
And now we got hole 5. It's straight downhill, 280 feet. Most of these guys will either be throwing a standstill rock or a putter. Now, what do you got, Chris?
I'm throwing a Discmania P2. I'm just trying to throw it straight down and skip up to the basket.
Looks like that's what Bobby's got as well. He gets a little bit of turn, which is what you have to do.
Yeah, he's also throwing a Star P2.
And he throws, well, that would be the S-line P2. Craig pulls it into the right a little bit. Board with a big bead AVR. He gets a nice flight, floating right down. But it kisses the last tree. He's off to the left. Steve with the standstill rock. You're going to see that rock a lot this round.
I was surprised by that too. I thought he might go with a KC Pro AVR or something like that.
Craig chipping up.
He's about, I'd say about 20, 25 feet here.
Slightly downhill. Just off the front of the cage.
Sat down though.
That's
could get some rolls on this hole.
The downhill to the left is pretty severe. And that was your birdie putt?
Yes.
Now you're gonna see Steve with the Millennium Omega Super Soft. That thing is quite old. And it crawls up and in for his deuce.
Nice.
And we got Bobby. Bobby putts with McPro AVRs. Nice and stiff. And it catches the back high right, but it's in. And Board puts it in the air and it gets in. So as we move on, we had 4 deuces, and Craig unfortunately takes the lone bogey. Now hole 6, as we see in the graphic momentarily, it's a left to right, pretty severe dog leg up to the right. Most of these guys will either be throwing turnover shots or a roller shot. And you looks like you're lining up the roller. What do you got there?
I'm throwing a star sidewinder. Yeah, I mean, I feel like the roller kind of plays with the natural kind of angle of the fairway and how the trees are. So
you get over that first hump, and then you're pulling it back up the hill.
Yeah, pretty much. It gets a nice roll into the hill and up towards the basket.
Bobby's going with the baby blue Destroyer, also roller line. It looks like Board is channeling his Discraft days with the old Avenger SS. That thing is very flippy. Gets on a good line.
It's a good angle. I think it's up there.
Steve going standstill. Standstill roller. Can't tell if that's on the fairway or a little early. And that looks real good from Craig.
Everybody's going with a roller, actually, which is kind of...
That's surprising.
Yeah.
That's the pro line right there.
Yeah.
Craig's on that middle.
I don't think
Sorry.
Craig usually does the roller actually either. He actually asked me about it, and he decided to try to go with it. That was a good upshot.
Good upshot. He was on that middle tier. Steve down below to the left.
Looks like an AVR.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
KC Pro AVR.
And he lays up.
Yeah, about 10 to 15 feet.
That's Bobby's drive. And he's got a good 35-footer up the hill. He's definitely going for it. Just bails out to the left. And that's Board's drive. And we can see your disc off to the right.
Nice 2 board.
He gets that one to go.
It's a pretty rare 2 on this, I would say. Not too many in the field getting this hole.
And how far are you here?
About, I would say, 17 feet. A little bit of a tester at this point. But I managed to put it in.
That's a good putt.
Thank you.
Bobby taps in.
Steve's going to tap in, take a 3.
So no one loses any strokes, and we get Board and Chris with the lone birdies. At this point in the round, it looks like you have made up your 2 strokes, and you've taken a 2-stroke lead.
I'm actually 4 down at this point, which is pretty good for me. I feel like I'm on track to do what I set out to do. So
as we said on hole 3, this stretch is pretty much the gauntlet you've got to get through clean. And if you're under 30 at hole 9, you're doing some real work. And
yeah, you're feeling pretty good about your round.
You climb the hill.
Yeah, get through that left gap, and probably about, I would say, 40, 45 feet.
And hole 7 is a pretty severe incline, basket off to the left, and that is the tree that you've either got to go in front of or behind. Bobby trying to force over a Firebird. Unfortunately, he gets a nasty kick left.
But also gets a decent kick, back down, because he could have kept going left down the hill, and that would be more treacherous.
If you're down on that path that you can see to your left-hand side, it is bad news.
Steve does the same thing. Looks like he slipped a little bit. Maybe they're trying to get their footing on a towel, which can be difficult because you're trying to land on the towel when you throw, and you're also you're thinking about that sometimes. So that's why I didn't put a towel down. I just
There's Steve throwing the yellow rock. Now here he's about 100 or so feet. Scoots by that tree on the left. And that double tree is pretty much in the circle. Now here's the Bobby special with the left hand forehand, throwing the glow Sherwood Firebird. Not the result he was looking for.
Board didn't really give it enough, so it trickled down left. He's going to have a tough putt.
Now he's throwing Bobby with the P2. He's going to be taking a bogey. Tough pill to swallow, but it is what it is.
And we have a layup here.
I understand at this point in the round you don't want to ruin the 4 down through 6. It's tough. I feel like you could make that putt.
Yeah, if you hit the basket and start rolling, I've seen people go way down that hill and easily goes from a birdie to a 4.
Board looking uphill, about 25. And he makes it.
Nice putt. Just on the right side, hanging in there.
You can just see some raindrops as Steve putts in for his par.
Low on the left side, but sticks in.
Bobby taps out for the bogey. You tap in for your par.
And now we got the umbrellas out.
It was pretty much a steady drizzle through that whole day, but could have been a lot worse considering it was the middle of February and there's no snow on the ground in Connecticut. We're all pretty happy about that.
True.
All right, so hole 8. It's changed from what it was a few years ago. It's less of a severe left to right, but it's still got to turn something over.
Pretty much just have to beat the one tree in the middle.
So you said it's raining, so you're going a little bit faster, Disc?
The T-bird again from hole 3. And I hit the only tree that you're trying to miss, as I was just saying.
Now the basket's right over that rock that you can see in the middle of your screen.
Yeah, it's a blind hole.
Board kicks over to the right. Looks like Steve's got another rock. Probably KC Pro.
And again, he's lining up on that towel. Makes a nice shot, though.
That's probably just outside the circle. Cuts with the Leopard 3. Looks like he's a little early left side, but he makes it past the Guardian in the middle. I think Bobby's throwing his McPro Rock 3. He gets a little turnover back to the middle of the fairway.
Nice kick to the middle.
What do you got?
Throwing a Nate Sexton Firebird 2015 edition. I turned it over too much. Might have been thinking about it a little too much about the angle, and then yanked it over. So I'm going to have a jump putt.
Board with the forehand as well.
We didn't really get to see it there, but I think it's pretty close, about 15, 20 feet.
This is Craig's drive and his putt for 2. Just in front of the basket.
It's a nice bid.
Bobby going for it, just off the chains. I know he wanted that putt. He knows he's behind at this point.
And about 40, 45. Just came out of my hand wrong. Got to open that hand.
That's Steve's drive, so he's actually closer than we thought. And it slides through the Mach 5s.
Sort of a signature of these baskets.
They are beautiful, but People will complain about the Mach 5s at Cranbury.
The chains are a bit light compared to some other baskets.
Here's the rest of our tap-ins. Steve is decidedly nonplussed about that.
Just a little smile on his face, though.
Unfortunately, you take the bogey and you drop a stroke back.
Yeah, not what I'm looking for. Shouldn't be getting a bogey on that hole. But moving on.
So hole 9, probably Cranberry's signature hole with the basket up on the rock. The B position that you see is no longer there. The blue dot is the silver basket. No one's playing that.
So here, there's usually two different approaches to this. You have usually it's going to be a putter, kind of a late turn, not really any fade, or you can do a flick.
Steve's dropping right down behind the rock.
I would say the flick is the easier play. Naturally goes with the shape of the fairway.
I know a lot of people who flick either a gator or a zone here.
Or a firebird.
Or a firebird. Craig trying to split the two guardians. Now Bobby's going to go the Marvin route. He just saws it off.
I was very surprised by him taking that. Usually, just as Board tried, he usually used the putter.
Yep.
Here I am with the Nate Sexton Firebird flick. I'd like it to be closer. Thought it was going to rest on the rock, and it ended up being about 35, 40 feet away from the basket for a death putt.
Now you see Bobby with the Sherwood Firebird. And you can kind of see the shape of the fairway, what he was going for as he followed the flight of the disc. And he throws a pretty solid up shot.
Looks like it was going in, potentially.
Craig plays the layup, sits right on the rock. That can be
nice shot.
Soft, nice soft landing there.
Board puts it a little further than he might like because that rock, it's going to be a cliffhanger.
And you said you're just outside the circle here?
Yeah.
40?
Yeah, I would say so.
And this is total death putt. And that just catches. And that's a great, great deuce putt.
I was very happy about that.
Bobby with the reset. He puts it in. You can kind of see how the ground goes away. Now here's Steve, who is not the tallest disc golfer. He's got to go turbo up and over the rock, Johnny McRae style. And he puts that in clean. And that's a great, great putt for 2. Board a little high, but it's in. And as you see Craig tap out, he's going to have a nice grin on his face as he looks back at board.
Yeah, we're laughing about that. You know, he put that a little further than he wanted to on that rock. It can be very tricky depending on where you land.
So we got 2 deuces from Steve and Chris. The rest pars. We've got a 1-stroke lead on Bobby, who shot the 51 in the first round. You shot 53 the first round. Made up those 2, and like I said, got 1 stroke.
Yeah, feeling pretty good at this point. Just trying to keep it going.
So hole 10, in my opinion, is the best risk-reward shot on the whole course. You can go left, just tight off the tee, but it opens up, or you can take the hyzer like Steve's going.
Yeah, there's really 3 routes here. You can take the anhyzer on the left, you can go straight, or you can try to do a hyzer on the right.
Yeah, the middle gap plays really well for someone with a forehand. They can turn it over and let it fade back into the basket.
I usually try to go the anhyzer route that you're going to see Board go here, but I tried to play safe and not what I was looking for.
Yeah, a little wide off the tee.
Not usually what I do. I don't practice that hyzer shot, so should have stuck with what I usually do.
Board's got the leopard. He throws a nice turnover.
I believe Board is one of the originators of this shot as well, from what I know.
Pretty sure he is. Now that kick back to the right, but he's going to be staring right at the basket on the slope behind, in front of it.
Craig's trying to take the same shot I was, same exact result pretty much.
You got to be left of that one tree.
We're going to have tough up shots.
Bobby with an Atlas, That hits early, and that is the risk of that taking that line to the left. And he's going with the Firebird up.
Maybe a spike hyzer, trying to get it close to the basket.
There's the valley between that ridge and the basket. Unfortunately, he hits early. He's going to be left with a very difficult approach down the valley.
Here, Craig with a rare flick.
What are you throwing here?
I'm trying to flick a PD2, champion PD2 over stable, trying to bend it and come back towards the basket.
Looks like you're a little too far to the right to go down the path.
Yeah, I basically had nothing. That was the only shot that I had. I had to do a big straddle away from that tree.
Bobby with the forehand P2. This is a really touchy shot. Chooses that over the gator. But that rock is just inside the circle, and he's going to have a tough downhill putt.
Yeah, this hole creates a lot of death putts.
Steve laying up with the Omega. Good little ground action that doesn't scoot too far. As you can see, board is on the other side of the valley, and he just lays up. So he wasn't punished too bad because he made the initial gap off the tee. How far are you here?
I'm about 35, 40. It's a scary putt.
Yeah, you've shot well in the front.
Yeah, I just didn't commit on that one and got a nasty roll.
Yeah, that's tough.
Well, I got to try to go for this one. Little spin putt.
It's a good commit. Just a little short, but...
I'm going to take my 5.
Yep.
Unfortunately.
Bobby taps in for his 4. Craig taps in. You'll see Steve and then board momentarily. I think you've seen hole 10 at the best and its worst. It is deuceable if you get clean through that hyzer gap, but if you get kicked, it can be pretty nasty. So now we move into the real scoring opportunity on the back 9. Holes 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18 are all birdieable. And you've got to get at least half of them to stay in contention.
With 18 being the only par 4 on the course?
In this layout, yes. So hole 11, 288 up the path. You're going to see most of these guys throwing T-birds, but Steve is throwing a rock. Gets it up in the air. It's a little bit of a kiss, but forward. Board with third run, Brinster bird. My personal favorite.
That's a nice shot right down the middle. He should be pretty close.
That's Dan Tressler in the back filming. You got Craig Cutler also with the Brinster bird. That's a very old first run that I know he's thrown a lot. He's right up there by the basket.
You notice about Cranbury, we got a lot of walkers and dogs.
So Bobby focuses in, smashes the glow rock 3. And
Nice shot.
That gets up there. You're throwing...
I'm also throwing a Brinster, a first run Brinster T-bird. And yeah, just turned it over too much and
so you're up
have an
along the
upshot.
wall. Nice little cut shot, as Cubby would say, off the top of the basket.
I was trying to put that one in.
Board gives you some respect for it. Steve bearing down for this birdie putt. At this point I was watching and I knew he wanted it, but that's a tough one to...
Staring off into the distance.
Board looking at his birdie. Gets it up and it slides in.
Nice putt, board.
And he's really happy about that one.
Little hand clap.
You can see Bobby's close. He puts in a nice birdie. You're tapping in, Steve. And Cutler gets CTP. Kicks aside the Brinster bird. And taps in. And as we see our scores come up, we got 3 twos, 2 pars. Bobby's closed the distance a little bit. And we've got hole 12, which is a right to left shot. We moved the pin a couple years ago, pushed it a little further to the left. What do you think about that hole, Chris?
I think it adds a nice little bit of difficulty from the previous hole. We're going to see mostly hyzer shots with either a putter or a mid-range.
Board goes with the big beat AVR. And you can just see it on the left of your screen, and unfortunately it slides over the rock wall out of bounds.
Not to mention this is a blind hole as well.
Craig with the standstill. That looks pretty good.
Yeah, he should be.
Looks
He'll
like
be down there on the putt on the dance floor.
Bobby with the C-line P2. He puts that up high, gets around most of it, and he's looking pretty good. He's on the dance floor there. Steve with the standstill. He's liking it out of his hand. He's watching it, but just has a little too much carry, and he's over the wall.
I don't know if he quite knew it when it went out. But
You throw really high.
I threw a little, maybe a little higher than I wanted to, and not quite the angle that I wanted to. So I'm gonna have a jump putt.
So as we said, OB over the rock wall, drop zone. And now we got Steve with the old school Mach 1 in front. And he lays
About how far is that drop zone?
It's farther now, so maybe about 70, 80.
Okay.
It used to be doable before we moved the basket. Now it's really hard. Almost a guaranteed 4. You bang that sucker in.
Yeah, a little walk through putt, about 50, 55 feet, I would say.
We got Craig with the classic grid stamp, and he squirts it in.
Nice putt, Craig, right in the middle, in the bottom of the baskets. That's how you want to hit these baskets.
Bobby gets it in too. Board taps in for the bogey. And Steve taps in for the bogey.
Disappointing 4 on this hole, I would say.
It's not quite a must-to, but you definitely want to not take a bogey. You want to get a 3 at worst. But with these guys, it's pretty much a must-to.
That rock wall is so close to the basket.
Now, hole 13 is arguably the toughest, the second toughest hole. Bit of a tweener shot. You can get up there. There's a direct line and a hyzer line.
Sort of plays like a par 4 for most players, I would say. But as Craig said, there's that straight gap, and you'll see that. I think Craig's just trying to play safe with a hyzer.
Yeah, he gets way up to the middle.
Yeah, it's a good shot. He'll have a good look at 3.
Now Bobby's throwing a beat-in destroyer, and I know he's going for the pin. And he gets it flat over the lip, but hits the one tree you've got to miss to get all the way up. That's an AJ.
Yeah, I'm also, it's a bottom stamp destroyer, actually. And I'm just going for the same shot Craig was, trying to get up there with a hyzer. Played for a 3.
Looks like that's what Board's doing as well. Throwing the orange destroyer.
I think he's actually trying to go straight. I've seen Board many times try to go straight for the pin with that straight gap.
And now you're going to see probably the best shot I've ever seen on this hole.
Pures it.
Steve pures it. He goes the skinny side.
We couldn't tell if it hit a tree, from the tee, but we'll see when we get up there.
Bobby with the Atlas. And he bends it around. He's on the green.
Just trying to put it up here.
Around the last one, you got to miss.
Take my par.
It's a good par. You're not feeling bad taking the 3
It's
here.
a must-get par.
And the whole rock wall plays out of bounds, and Craig is pretty fortunate to have it die down.
He'll get to take relief off of the wall.
He gets his meter. Board drops it under the basket. And here's Steve's putt for 2, one of the very rare 2s you'll ever see, let alone on camera. Clean,
Nice
hyzer, dead center.
Yeah, probably only about 1 or 2 on the day, I would say.
I'd say none. I'd say that's the only one.
Yeah.
Maybe the rare Domio Frizak roller backhand.
Or a throw-in.
Or a throw-in. Craig takes relief. And puts it in. And now we'll see Board walk up to his with a stylish mini drop. You tap in. And Board taps in. Good putt, Board. It's missable. I know from experience. So that's the pro caliber. 1, 2, and 4 threes. No damage on that hole, and they're getting through hole 13 unscathed. So hole 14 takes us back out into the open.
Yeah, it's one of the only open holes on the course. Pretty much just going to see hyzers out to the right, try to come into the basket.
Now they're teeing off inbounds. That path is not in play here, but over to the left where you can see the person with the dog, that path is out of bounds. So the play is to go wide right, come in back to the left, scoot up under the basket. Steve throws the old school Sentinel. And I know Craig loves the second run Brinster T-Bird here. And he throws it on a pretty pure hyzer, and you're going to see it come in and skip right up to the basket. Now Bobby goes for the little unconventional play with the smoke Firebird. He mashes that up in the air, trying to spike it down to the basket. And that's what he does.
I'm throwing a T-Bird here. Steve Brinster T-Bird. Hung it out way too far to the right. Late release, so I'm going to have a long look at 2.
That's the safe play. But
you don't want to play safe.
You don't want to be that safe. And Board's got a PD2. As we said, rocking the Unity shirt. He gets a good move on that. Doesn't want to fly it too far left. He's a little short. The PD2 kind of manned up on him. What are you, outside the circle?
Yeah, I would say about 55, 60 feet. Put it up in the air, gave it a bid. Half run, basically just trying to get it close, inner close.
Yeah. Board bearing down. And that was clean out of his hand, but just high.
That was a good looking putt.
Bobby taps in. Craig taps in. And Steve is basically under the basket, drop in.
Yeah, this is a hole that you want to get a 2 on every time. And if you don't, it kind of feels like a bogey.
I've seen some big numbers in other ice bowls back in the day, but no big numbers here
If
today.
ice is involved?
If ice is involved and wind. It can get windy out on the field, but not today. Just a little bit of drizzle.
Yeah, not quite an ice bowl, I would say.
Now, hole 15, we've changed from years past. Used to be off to the right, almost a must roller. Now we've got a shorter tee up to the mound. And it's either a putter or mid-range, depending on your comfort level.
It's a very low ceiling, too. I would say the lowest ceiling on the course. You have OB there on the left.
Steve going standstill. Yellow rock. That's actually a good disc choice, but he gets a nasty kick left. But he's still in bounds past the OB mound on the left.
Yeah, he should have an easy 3.
Craig with the rock. And he turns it just a little bit too much. That's more open than it has been in years past. Bobby with the P2. He misses the ceiling. Perfect line. Right on the mound. So the basket's at ground height from the tee, but as you see, the ground will drop away. You go Atlas.
Yeah, just you know, you could either go a putter or mid-range on this hole, but I feel like you can just kind of touch up the Atlas or a rock, you know, a little bit, and especially in the rain and the cold.
I agree. I usually throw my Atlas here.
You don't really have to power up on a putter.
Exactly. Board's metal flake comes up short. He lays up. You see Craig lay up in the corner, right corner. Steve also with the layup. Got to put it on that mound. He gets a bit of a kick off, but he's still pretty close. That's a good tap in. There's Craig running up. So this is another hole that, even as short as it is, if you're not careful and your putt's not on, you can have a pretty big number here.
It definitely plays harder than the distance says, with that low ceiling and the mound and the out of bounds. The new addition, the addition of the out of bounds.
Yeah, that rock wall you see behind the basket, that's out of bounds.
And also on the right, the
And
wall is out of bounds.
Yes.
You see back there?
Yep. And there's board tapping in.
That actually is a KC Pro AVR that he's putting with.
So we got 2 2s, 3 3s, coming down to the end of the round. It looks like you're now 2 strokes behind Bobby, since you're both 4 under for the round. The hole 16, a little bit open, plays back up the valley that we played down on 15, and the whole right side is out of bounds, as is the left and behind the basket.
This hole plays a little bit longer than it looks to, because a little bit of the uphill and and you have out of bounds.
Bobby likes to force over play with the Firebird. You're going with the 11 time again?
Yeah, 11 time T-bird, the same one on as hole 3.
And I think that's a little bit more of a conservative play, but it gets all the way up there.
Yeah, I felt pretty good about that. It was
Steve throwing the rock, and we've seen it all day, and I didn't quite understand the choice here. It flips right over.
Craig also going with the Brinster bird.
And that's a play I really like. That's a very stable mid fairway driver. Board also with 3rd run Brinster.
We see a theme here.
Well, when you're in New England, you tend to throw Brinster T-birds. Good stable plastic with good flight.
It's interesting playing with the Brinster with that T-bird playing, with Steve. It's pretty cool.
Bobby lays up, but I know he wanted to at least draw some metal. Now, at this point I was watching, tagging along, and I know he wanted to make this. And from my viewpoint, as you'll see, I thought it was going in the whole way, and it just hits the last tree.
This for pros, this is a must get too, I would say.
Board with the jacket unzipped. Puts it up. Just a little short. Here's Craig's putt for 2. Going through his routine. I thought it was going in.
Yeah, it was a nice putt, just a little too high.
I think you know where you are in this round, and you know you need this.
I wanted this one. It's about 30 feet, tester, right inside the circle. And I just didn't open my hand on that one, and I didn't commit. A little bit of rain, just
never up, never in.
Got to make that one.
And that's a good par.
Nice putt, Steve.
Board taps in. I think we were giving him grief about the jacket.
It's either on or off. Oh, he's doing a little flick with the mini there. He's practicing his flick.
And who's left to tap in? That is you. So we lost a couple branches on hole 16 a few years ago.
So no twos on that hole.
No twos, but we put in that OB, give it a little bit of teeth. And it's tough to really jam a disc up there these days, but that's why you'll see a lot more pars. So hole 17 can be a round breaker. I know it's crushed me on numerous occasions. You gotta be dead straight. Anything left or right and you're in a world of hurt. I've seen some miraculous saves. Shout out to Dana Vici back in the day with the flick buzz around the corner.
I would say it's pretty much the same shot as hole 16. Same disc, for me at least.
I agree. Bobby with the Brinster, and he makes the
Early
one mistake
release.
you can't make. He's early left.
Early release. It's jail over there pretty much.
You've also got a Brinster bird. We saw this on 11.
Yep.
And it looks like you just torqued it a little bit.
Yeah. I'll have an upshot. I'll have a kind of a tricky upshot. Might have to do a little patent pending stance.
Here's Steve with the yellow rock.
That same yellow rock.
I like the play here. Throw the hyzer flip, he gets it in the air, glides.
Just a little bit. That was really close.
And once again, Craig with the Brinster bird. He puts a nice move on that one. It gets flat, way up to the basket.
Pin high, just about.
Yeah. Board, same disc, Brinster bird. Third run. And that's another good move on it. Gets it flat. Just lets it die off to the left where it's pretty open for a putt.
Good shot.
And here's Bobby way short of even the silver basket. This is not where you want to be.
Little trick shot. Flick.
The Sherwood Firebird is famous in New England.
The meat hook.
Super stable, very flat. Great for thumbers, forehands. And he almost gets it all the way through.
A super tight gap.
Now here, what were you thinking about initially? What disc?
Just which putter to use. You know, a super flippy one or one that had a little bit of stability to it, so it can pan out of the Anheuser. So I ended up going with the P2 with a little bit of stability on it. Same one I threw on 5.
You know, I just watched a Jomez video. Shout out to them, where Big Germ was talking about throwing a slightly more stable disc Anheuser to get that glide out that you
Yeah, because you can
mentioned.
trust it. You can put it on that angle and trust it to come back straight. It gives you a nice confidence with that throw instead of trying to bend something understable.
Yep.
And control it.
Steve's throwing his approach, and that's a really tough early kick.
I was really surprised by that, but that's a tight gap. You know, we've all been there, and
Yeah, that left side is tough. He just throws his approach. Not as big a commit as he wanted.
you probably want to be a little closer on that. But
Bobby to save par. And just off the rim,
Yeah,
he
I thought
knew
that-
he needed it.
I thought that was in.
My board's to the right of that last tree, and you'll see that comes into play momentarily. Board jams his birdie putt.
Good putt.
And see, Craig has to straddle out, and he doesn't like to straddle. He comes up just short. That's a tough pill to swallow there. You want that putt. And Bobby jams in a really, really good bogey putt.
It was a tester for sure at that point.
Steve taps in. There's your TD, rocking the Team Cranberry sweatshirt, talking with Board.
Lighten things up a little bit.
Board's one of the best guys I know. One of the best of the Frizzaks.
A little upside down tapping.
Yep.
Make it interesting.
So hole 18, last hole of the round. Looks like you're one shot behind Bobby at this point. And I think Steve is right there as well. So hole 18, a par 4. OB pinching the gap down to the basket, Maple Hill 1 style. And
The only par 4 on the course here.
in this layout, the only par 4.
And basically everybody's just trying to, to get it down there and on a hyzer or a flat to hyzer.
And the bush you see off to the left, that's out of bounds. The tee pad of hole 14 is out of bounds.
I'm also throwing Destroyer here.
Looks like a
Same as hole 1.
tasty pop top AJ.
Yeah, just trying to play a little flat to hyzer and, get it in the middle just for an upshot. Take your 3.
Hyzer in front of that last big tree.
Craig puts a good move on it also.
Looks like he's throwing that Wraith that we've seen before. And he's down by the road, which is pretty much where you want to be. And Bobby Big Arm going with the PD2. And he gets a good little skip. And Steve. Not sure what he's throwing here. Chris, what do you think it is?
I believe it's the latest run of the Destroyer, of his signature Destroyer.
He gets that flat, and he is actually going to come in hyzer
He crushed
behind that
that.
tree.
Steve crushed that one.
And he parks the original hole 18 basket position.
Effortless distance from Steve.
Board's throwing his approach, and you'll see that the OB flags pinch the gap. The Board turns his putter just a touch. But
It's interesting that he went with the DX AVR. It has a little less stability than the KC Pro, which is maybe why it bent out a little bit.
And you learn from that, and you're going back to the P2.
Yep. Just trying to get it close here.
And that's a really, really solid play.
Thought it went a little bit further than I'd like, but it ended up being pretty close, about 15 feet.
Now Bobby knows he's got to get close, seal the deal. The P2, and he just lets off of it a hair. He's in bounds, but he's not where he wants to be. Cuts with an AVR.
And as you said, this plays as a peninsula green.
Yep, OB surrounding it. Steve with the rare eagle look.
That Omega again.
He's grinding this for the win. Just holds to the right a little too much. So here's Bobby's putt for the outright win. He knows he needs it. Just lets it go to the right. Board bearing down, puts it up.
Good putt, Board. Good way to finish the round.
Cutler with a similar distance. Good putt. Bobby just outside of you and Steve. makes his par putt for 4. So if you make this, you tie him with 3. So what are you thinking here? You know you need this?
Yeah, a little bit of nerves, but you got to put it in.
It's at that one distance can be a little tough.
Yep.
Good stance. It went in.
Yep.
You know it went in.
Yeah.
You're happy.
Yep. No pictures on the scorecard.
And Steve with the heartbreak.
I was super, super surprised by that. I did not expect that. Thought he was going to put it in easily.
And he is unhappy.
And that was for, I believe, for a 3-way playoff.
That was for the 3-way
Between,
playoff.
Bobby, him, and I.
And as the round ends, Bobby with the 4, Steve with the 4, board 3, Cuts 3, Chris with the 3. And we see by the final round scores that you shot a 50, Bobby shot the 52. And that leaves you and Bobby in a tie at 103 on the day. How you feeling going into the sudden death playoff?
I'm feeling pretty confident after the 3 on 18, after the birdie. So we'll see what happens here.
In our talk before the commentary, you said you had birdied this twice, round 1 and round 2.
Yep.
So you're going back to the same disc here?
Yep, same disc, same shot. More rain.
You get a nice move.
Yeah, I got a little more turnover than the first, than round 2 shot, and back towards the basket, and I'll have about 20, 25 feet. A little bit longer than I'd like, but yeah, we have a putt.
Now, Bobby switched things up a little bit from the green PD2 to the purple older PD2.
More stable? Or
I
less?
think that one's a little more beat up,
Okay.
so maybe he's trying to let off just a hair. Maybe
Throws it
throw it
more.
flatter.
Throws it more flat this time.
And he gets right up to the basket too.
Yeah, he's inside me.
Getting the birdie look on hole 1 pin high is really impressive.
A lot of nerves on this putt. The gallery in the back. You just got to put it in.
That was clean, no wobble, right in the bottom. Bobby walking up.
Feeling really good about that putt.
Bobby's pretty close. He's 12 feet, maybe 15.
Yeah, it's basically a tap in.
He puts it in. Going birdie there in a playoff is very, very impressive.
Thank you.
Oh, sudden death hole 2. You've got that same leopard.
Yep. Especially with the more rain and it's getting colder, so.
And you miss the telephone pole in the middle and opens up to the right. And you get a nice little fade back to the basket. I know it's tough to see.
Couldn't tell if I was down there, so we'll see. I thought I might have a putt, but you never know once you go through there. There are small gaps.
Bobby with the Atlas. Doesn't quite get the pull on it.
Yeah, I don't think it was high enough. Maybe a little off on the timing.
And he's about 70 feet. But it's very makeable for him. He's giving it a good run, but not blowing by. And you'll see the camera move because I am filming on my cell phone. And moving into position to catch Chris's putt for the win. Now, slightly downhill. Hyzer to the left or through those trees. What are you grinding through your mind right now?
Just basically you got to put this in. There was a little bit of a hyzer around the tree, but it's a must. It's a must make.
And you drop it in. And that's my voice in the back. You win in the sudden death playoff. A couple couple months later, it still feels pretty good, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was a great day. Not the best weather, but we made the best of it and put our heads down and got through it.
You know, this was the first time I haven't played the Cranbury Ice Bowl in almost 10 years. And it's tough running it and not playing. But to see a good friend take it down, it feels pretty good.
Thanks a lot. And everybody appreciates you and the work that you've done and sacrificing your time to be able to do this and not play. I know that's tough. So thank you on behalf of me and everybody else that played the tournament.
Somebody's got to do it in this region, and it's time to give Whit a chance to relax and play for a little while. So speaking of which, I just want to give some shout-outs and big thanks to the Open Door Shelter of Norwalk, Connecticut, for whom this tournament benefited. We raised about $1,400 and 200 pounds of food, which is no small thing. And I also want to give thanks to the town of Norwalk for letting us continually run this tournament year after year, doing everything possible for Cranbury Disc Golf since at least 2005. Jason Kazaniak for doing NIFA scoring, Bobby Cowperthwait for setting up the course, Warren Lee, Ryan Brunell, and Greg Newkirk for helping out at lunchtime, Craig Cutler, Steve Brinster, and Andy Tabbs for helping with scoring, and of course, last but not least, Kevin Lane for setting up all the OB flags, beating me to the course, setting up tables, and helping close down shop. Thank you so much to everyone. Thank you to Chris for sitting by my side.
Thank you, Craig. Thanks, everybody, for watching.
And thank you. We'll see you next time on JB Disc Golf Productions.
See you guys soon.
You serious?